Yo, and welcome back to yet another one of the episode of Action Thraxin. My name's Jackson. Yo, so one positive, one negative. The positive is the sun was shining. You can see your boy half out here, half juicy, half naked. I threw the shirt off. I was feeling kind of good. The weather was the weather was what it needed to be, to say the least. The weather was what it needed to be. So I cannot complain about that. One negative is the distance. I did not see the distance that I wanted to see. But, hey, that's part of the whole job. That's part of the job of hammer throwing. Hey, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over that. I was, and this is one more positive. We can be on the positive side of things. I was able to execute some technique that was somewhat efficient. I will say somewhat efficient. I can't complain. I did the drills to start off with the stick. Start off with the stick drills, and then I eventually moved into the rest of the programming that I had in place. It had to do with the drill of the turns, one turn, one wind, one turn, two winds, two turns, two winds, three turns, and etc. etc. You'll see it here. I think this is a pretty good drill for me. Starting off, I think I'm going to remove it later in the programming, but for now, I kind of like this. It allows me to connect with the ball. It allows me to feel where the ball is taking me, and just basically get a decent feeling for where the ball is at different displacements of time, if you will. So I do like this drill a lot, but here's what I will say. After I get these guys done, what you're going to see me do is the wraparounds, which I paid for a programming from the Sean Donnelly. I got really frustrated doing the wraparounds, and so now what you're going to see me doing is kind of fucking around. I hate to say it, but you're going to see me fucking around. I just I've really done my best not to be hard-headed and try to listen to the people that have told me things. I've really done my best as far as that note goes, but I've really gotten frustrated. I was texting him. I was trying to ask him questions as much as I could, but I really could not get a handle on the wraparound. So what you see me doing here is kind of a bunch of random things. I really do not know what's going to help me the best. I'm trying to get to the bottom of that right now. What is going to help 𝐦𝐨𝐬𝐬 the best? Uncle Kibbs made a post about not having a coach versus having a coach, and then what do you do trying to observe a coach from a distance? It's, even in my short tenure, I've realized that it almost does me no good to try to observe somebody thinking about the hammer from afar. It's just kind of frustrating. I threw a lot of these wraparounds earlier in the year when I got the programming from Mr. Donnelly, and I was not getting anywhere. And I asked him as many questions as I could, and he kind of couldn't lead me to the water. And after I saw that Uncle Kibbs post, it kind of made sense to me what I was dealing with. You're trying to observe somebody's thoughts toward the hammer from a very far distance versus you having that person around to kind of lead you to what he has thought and has led to what is efficient and what has helped. There's no malice. Honestly. There's just more frustration, I would say, as far as me getting that program. So 3/4 of this program, I would say 65% of this program is from him, but I've kind of had to remix it just because it's just not all going to work for me at the end of the day. It's not. So I'm gonna have to find a workaround. I don't know what it's gonna be. It's either gonna be something like what you were seeing before, kind of the start from, I don't know, turning with some velocity on the ball, or maybe even the no wraparounds, the no turns. I think that those helped me a little bit, but I did some fools with the 7.26K, and I would just like to mention, I mean, hey, you don't get the distance sometimes, but I mean, I was getting some sort of consistency with the technique. So, am I going to complain about that? No, that's sort of a blessing. You kind of got to take your wins where you can get your wins. I was definitely over the legs. I was over the legs very, very consistently. The thing that I want to note out is, was I lifting on the hammer as I should? No, I was not. You take one win at a time. I was over the legs, but I was not lifting on the hammer as I wanted to be. Um, as I picked up the 5K, and you'll see as I picked up the 5K, as I tinkered around with it, um, I was able to see that lift just a little bit more, just a tad bit more. But this is some of the subtle differences when you're throwing a heavy hammer versus you're throwing a light hammer. You have to pay attention to. Um, no, I wasn't throwing it super far or anything like that, but I was able to see the lift on it. The DB on the 7.26 was 145 around there, and the DB on the 5K was about 157. So I'm not going to lose too much sleep over that. It's going to be a little bit of a process. Right now, what I'm focused on, a little bit of cardiovascular endurance. You'll see me on the rower here. I started off with an 8-minute row, trying to get 2,000 rows under 8 minutes. I achieved that, and then I got back on the rower, and I did sort of a 𝐬𝐸MAN-ish, if you will. I'm going to have to play with the CrossFit WODs, because the problem is, I think the CrossFit WODs provide us something very, very unique, as far as endurance and as far as just health on the spectrum of cardiovascular, but they will diminish your joints if you don't pick the right movements. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more, and try to pick the movements that probably will help the hammer, probably will help me with the cardiovascular endurance, as well as a little bit of movement that correlates to the hammer. But I'm not going to worry about that today. I did a little bench press. Wednesday is normally my bench press day, so this is kind of an easy thing for me to do. It's already ingrained in my brain. So I did the bench press, and that is that's what I kind of end up doing, was sort of an 𝐸𝐸MAN, a ghetto 𝐸𝐸MAN is what I call it. But I cannot complain at all. We got some good work in. We accomplished something. So we're just going to document this the best that we can. Then we're going to move forward. The WODs do help you sort of get in shape. The problem is the nutrition, and then how many throws did you take. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration here when you're doing something more on the esque of the CrossFit land. But I think I want to venture into this a little bit, just as far as building up a good baseline for lifting, and then I'll go into the more specific lifts as we go. But it's going to take me a little bit of a periodization, is the correct word, before I get there. So yes, I think that something that gets neglected in the hammer throw is the cardiovascular, because you're kind of doing a short sprint, and it doesn't take into account just the overall shape of the athlete. And that's sort of what I'm thinking about right now, is me getting into a good shape. And then I will sort of think about the distances and the movements that I need to do down the road. It's going to be a process, guys. It's going to be a process. But hey, I put something in the bank for a rainy day. Hopefully, I get some decent work in tomorrow. I have a little bit of programming wrote down for mañana. But That's all I got, guys. You already know what the deal is. Run on your toes, keep your mouth closed, lock your doors, and save your throws. And most importantly, I hope you live to fight another day.